Hi, Frank. Can you hear us?
Hey, how's it going? Excellent.
Oh, great.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
And welcome to our show.
No worries.
We've seen you launched on Product Hunt 2 days ago,
Yes.
right?
Yes, that's true. Yes, I did launch on Product Hunt, and it's a pretty busy week, if I tell you that, with 80 meetings or so.
Okay.
So another 20 today to go, and you are the first one.
So let's set up the tone for the day, and
Yeah, sure.
start the interview by just introducing yourself and your product, and your backstory.
Sure. So Frank Sondors worked predominantly in the B2B tech space, and started my career at Google, working across their Google Ads division, taking over a territory here in Europe. And then I worked for a bunch of B2B SaaS companies in frontline sales, enterprise customer success, and then also last but not least, in having led a sales team at a company called Watergraph, where I led them from seed to Series A. And it was one of the most successful sales teams in the whole world, actually. And kind of right now, so I'm building Salesforge together with my team. We're based out of Vilnius. And we're essentially building Salesforge. Salesforge allows you to essentially craft unique emails to every single recipient at scale in any language. And that's our first product. Now our second product is Mailforge, which allows to build out the infrastructure that's required to essentially solve deliverability problems that companies have. So yeah.
Right. So in your case, you had kind of what's called the founder market fit. So you knew exactly what the problems are in your market, since you had all this experience at Google and working as in sales teams and so on and so forth, right?
Correct. Found a market fit, and we already reached our PMF as well. So
Great.
yes.
So how did you validate your idea initially? Did you reach out to your network? Did you?
So we have collected what we call paid pre-orders prior to even shipping a single line of code. That's one. Number two is we've done 45 user interviews, and number three, I'm the domain expert in the field. So that's I would say a threefold answer in terms of how we've validated what we're building.
Yeah. So could you elaborate more on the pre-sales phase? Because
Sure. So we have done 4 paid pre-orders with customers, and essentially they have purchased the product even before shipping a single line of code.
Okay. So
then,
how do pre-sales work for, let's say, if you have enterprise customers? Do you have an escrow account? I mean, if you get into the nuts and bolts of the financial transaction itself.
well, they pay for a subscription for X number of years in advance. They just get a really good deal. So essentially, the validation you do here, exercise is somebody would somebody be willing to pull out their credit card in order to for this particular product or value proposition that we're going to be putting out in the market.
Yeah, but
So
the details of the financial transaction. Because if you have small orders, let's say you have enterprise customers who are paying the subscription in advance, how do you make sure that they get their product? So is there a middleman like Stripe or something else?
well, sorry, yeah, PSP is Stripe, yes, our payment service provider, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
So we're it's a typical setup where you have Stripe, and then we use ChargeBee as our billing infrastructure to collect all the orders. Now, right now we have over 220 paying subscriptions as a company.
So you mentioned that you've already reached the project market fit.
Product
Correct.
market.
Product market fit. So how do you know that you've reached it? Do you get reach outs from your
So
users?
the way that I know it is, I'm gonna give you probably a unique answer, is when I mute my payments channel.
Okay.
As simple as that, in Slack.
Because every single founder has its own version of the product market fit.
But the simplest way to look at it is I have to mute my Slack channel.
Okay.
That's
Right.
when you know you have reached.
So
That
you
means
have
there's a X number of transactions happening every single day. There's a motion. There are people signing up. There's a significant reduction in churn, and there's a significant number of upsells, and yeah. But probably in simple ways, from a founder perspective, if you have a typical setup where you do have Slack, when you when you actually mute the Slack channel, then you have reached your product market fit. And that's a simple way to look at it. And also, of course, from a sort of revenue standpoint, we had 150% growth in January, and this month we're already 50% roughly month over month up, and it's only mid-month. Yeah.
those are great numbers, but at this
Thanks.
moment you have two different products. Do you try to
Correct.
bundle together because they're kind of in a similar niche? And
Well, we're selling to the same user, so right now, Mailforge actually accounts for about 52%, actually over 52% of all total subscriptions. However, Salesforge has a higher ARPA, or just ticket, essentially than Mailforge, and both are very scalable products because of the consumption-based pricing that we use. We don't believe in seat-based pricing, and then so yeah, we have two products, and the second product. So we launched Salesforge back in June last year.
yeah,
And Mailforge, we launched it back in January, around mid-January, official launch. And then our first customer paid us over 1K in transaction. And then currently that product has over 100 clients already,
right.
or 100 subscriptions.
Yeah.
That's great.
So are you bootstrapped?
Yes, fully bootstrapped. Currently at 20K, already 21K, I think, MRR, fully bootstrapped, 3 founders, currently raising $500,000, already over 200K in commits. And yeah.
You've mentioned that you're using the usage-based pricing, right?
Correct, yeah.
With the usage-based pricing, do you think there's any limits to scale? I mean, at some point, do you think you'll have to raise venture funds to scale further?
Well, yes is the answer, because we're currently raising a round, or pre-seed round, then we're going to raise a seed, and then we're going to raise a Series A until we exit. Yes, is the answer.
Okay.
Could you tell us some challenges that you have with building a product and running it efficiently for your clients?
Well, the current challenge is that we spend pretty much the whole day in intercom in our chat, because we're experiencing higher levels of growth, and that means we're not shipping code. So we have a typical growth pain where you have a huge demand for the products, but you're not actually shipping code additionally, because there's just such a surge in demand. I would say that's the core problem right now. We don't have what we call go-to-market problems. We don't have engineering problems. We have what we call support weight that needs to be handled every single day. So that's what the two other co-founders are doing, and then myself, because I'm fully slammed with meetings today, 20 meetings, just this week, let's say 80 meetings. That means we're a full, what we call, over capacity, and that's why we're already hiring people as well.
Yeah. And at this point, what's your target customer? What's your average customer, let's say? Is it an indie founder maker, an enterprise client?
It's 50-50. It's an agency. So agencies are essentially lead gen agencies, sales development agencies, or they're called lead gen agencies. Essentially, companies or consultants that need to deliver pipeline to their customers, because most of the startups do not specialize in go-to-market. They were very weak on that front. So there's a huge segment of fractional CROs, fractional VP sales, sales development agents, etc., that specialize in actually delivering pipeline. So they in particular are the ones that cannot handle seat-based pricing. It doesn't make sense. So that's one segment, and then the second segment would be what I would call anywhere between pre-seed, seed to Series A stage startups, which are a sweet spot, because they need to scale very CAC efficiently, and we're a fantastic option for that.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about sales in 2024. I mean, cold emails and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a wave of new startups that are trying to to, let's say, what YC startups that are trying to introduce, let's say, AI into cold sales, into cold emails. And some of them are even trying to replace labor altogether. They're trying to create
That's what
a
we're gonna do.
fully digital employee, fully digital AI salesman. Do you think
Sure.
that's feasible?
Yeah, we're building that.
Okay. But if everybody's doing that, at some point, the emails.
But they build it as a point solution. For me, it's
Yes.
just a feature.
Oh, okay.
That's very different.
That's what they wanted to touch.
Because they don't have the infrastructure that I have.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
have my execution engine.
Yeah.
AI agents are, it's nice in the concept, but ultimately it is just like generative AI, which is a feature. Autonomous sales capability is a feature, is not a product, and that's where they will fail.
Yeah. That's
And
what.
and plus they raise too much money. That's not a problem.
And there's too many of them.
There's too many of them. There's no differentiation between a few of them. There's like 5 of them or so. And it is a feature at the end of the day. So the way to look at it, and it's also a deck that we communicate, there's 2 axes that you need to optimize against the whole product. So one is sales autonomous execution, but it's just one axis, and the second axis is because email is typically the core channel, is what we call email deliverability is what we're optimizing right now. And it's all great to be delivering great emails, Gen AI, autonomous, and other autonomous, doesn't matter. But if your emails actually, in fact, land in spam, then there's no point of these emails. So hence, because it's just one, it's not even one side of the coin. It's one part of the problem. There's multiple problems that need to be solved under one solution. So we are building what we call the consolidated stack, because ultimately our goal is to become the next pipe drive. And the reason why we're saying that,
one-stop shop, right, for all your cold email needs. And
correct. So we have, we have example companies that have failed in one-stop shop approach. Apollo is what we classify as failure. And we are essentially building what we call the Apollo V2.0. Because we believe that they had a great theoretical idea, but the execution of their idea is really poor. And this is why a lot of their clients are also transitioning to us. And but there are some upsides, of course, of the product. For example, of Apollo, is that they have a lot of data that we don't have. And that's something that we're going to solve later. Data is not actually the least problem for companies, because data is a commodity, and it's very hard to make a good margin on data these days.
Yeah.
Whereas our margin for MailForge is 97% gross margin, and just across the whole business is 87%. So
yeah, we rarely see startups that are focusing on infrastructure first, and then they're adding features, because that gives you just a huge and enormous moat in the long run, right? And
well, yes, because I mean, think of it this way. So if I'm a startup or I'm a big company, and I tell you how to run your cold email motion, and I will tell you that one of the 4 things you will need to do is set up the infrastructure. And then they're thinking, oh no, I have to go to GoDaddy and do a register, and then I have to go to Gmail, and then Gmail will suspend my accounts. It's like a huge pain. And then the other pain is the fact that you have to pay €7 per mailbox.
Yeah.
Every single mailbox. And the cost just mounts up massively. And then in MailForge, the cost is $3 less. And actually, the more you buy, the cheaper it gets as well. So we're also incentivizing that scale. And this is why, for example, one guy just comes in last night, or I think on the previous night, buys 300 mailboxes. One go. That's why consumption-based pricing is so great. Because we essentially solving not just the deliverability, but the fact that you don't have to hire sales reps, because the way the whole software is built is with a premise of needing the least possible headcount already right now. And then the add-on or whatever the feature will be to augment the sales teams with AI agents and then fully replace. So where these AI agents will fail is that they only provide AI agents. However, there's plenty of segments in the market where AI agents will never work. For example, enterprise sales or specific territories like Nordics, that automation is just not a thing. People value relationship over anything, for example. So, however, you need to provide a head of sales in any company or a CEO the ability to run sales teams very efficiently. For now, it's just email that we do. Later, we're going to do also unlock LinkedIn and a parallel dialer, so the ability to call prospects. So it's a fully fledged software, fully fledged sales engagement platform. And then and give that optionality. So, okay, you can run your sales team very effectively. Then you can augment the sales team. You can compare or benchmark essentially humans versus AI agents in the same interface. And then if you understand that, AI agents may deliver the same value or more and will be 10 times cheaper, of course you will start transitioning. So that is the transformation that we're looking to enable in industry. We don't believe that companies will suddenly switch from, I don't know, Outreach, the number one platform in the space with over 300 million ARR. Suddenly they will switch to AI agents. Highly unlikely. However, if you do provide that ability to transition from human-led sales teams to AI agents within a single interface, that's the power play, or I'll call in the space.
There's this thesis shared by many founders and venture capitalists that AI changes the paradigm of software itself. So you're not just selling a tool that enhances your productivity by 70, 60, 80, whatever percent. You're just trying to replace labor. You're kind of stealing labor in the workforce instead of just software.
Yeah. That's what we're gonna enable in the software. This is, this also part of the software. This is not just pure what's called agentic software, the new category of the software. This is a mix. I call it best of both, essentially. The best of both high efficiency software to onboard, smaller sales teams essentially, and run them very CAC efficiently, plus give you the ability to augment, plus give you the ability to fully replace sales teams. And that optionality is what people are looking for.
Right. So at this point,
many of them don't know about it yet, but I'm a former head of, I'm a former VP sales myself with a sales team of 50 that I had in my previous job. The only way to achieve target was hiring more people, and I thought that was wrong. It is wrong to hire more people. We live in a capital society. The goal is to make revenue with the highest margin possible, with the least headcount possible. And the software in the market currently that we have, what we call the dinosaur software, does not enable that, because they all charge per seat. Their goal is to have as many bums on the seats as possible. When somebody hires sales reps, I come in and say to stop hiring.
Yeah,
that's a very different message.
Do you think that in general the business model of SaaS or software startups will change in the future? Well, we'll see more usage-based pricing models rather than
exactly. So the belief across what I call forward-looking founders and investors, community, etc., is we are shifting towards usage-based pricing, because seat-based pricing is legacy.
Yeah, because you never feel like you own software. You're only leasing it from the software company.
Well, because it allows you to align cost to value significantly better when it's consumption-based, whereas there's a intrinsic problems with seat-based pricing. So, for example, I have a sales team of 50. I hire 50 people. Some of them I fire. Some of them are not at work. Some of them go on holiday. Some of them are sick. And then you have what's called the license utilization problem.
Right.
There's no license utilization problem with consumption-based pricing. You're fully eliminating. You only pay for what you consume. I put a margin on top of that, and we're done.
Right.
And from a CFO standpoint, you're only paying for what you're using, which helps you then to better sort of correlate, essentially, what you're paying to a vendor, and then the value that you're getting, which is pipeline coverage.
Well, by the way, the AI that you're using, are you trying to fine tune the models, or are you just using the regular?
Currently, we're using publicly available models. We keep switching for different various purposes, whether it's cost or output, etc. But we're going to be transitioning to our own models on the AWS.
Right.
And the reason why we're going to be doing that is because publicly available models are not the best models to use for the purposes that we're looking to unlock next year. And we're going to be training off our own data sets. So we call that clusters. And essentially what we do is we clustering companies that exhibit similar traits. So for example, you're in industry X, so let's say fintech, and you're targeting e-commerce stores in the UK. And that's an example of cluster data. And essentially, the more companies that will be having more activity levels in that cluster, or there's just more companies in that cluster, that means you'll have a humongous data sets that you can train off. So it allows us to apply Gen AI then on top of that cluster data, and it allows us to apply ML models. And then by leveraging a concept that's called federated learning, you can train off siloed data sets and train off non-PII data that is in that data, and then essentially unlock efficiency levels or Gen AI outputs based off your industry. And that's a significantly more powerful way of generating the best emails, best of your industry. So it's in the world of marketing, you would call that essentially merging first-party data with third-party data to unlock superior efficiency levels. And that's exactly what we're doing in the world of sales technology, which does not exist.
Do you think at some point you'll be able to gain a significant part of the market and consolidate the market around, or
Yeah, that's the goal. That's
of your industry of sales software?
That's the goal. And the way we're gonna defend our turf is our data. That's our
Right.
defense. There's no defense in AI agents. There's no defense in execution. You just move fast and you defend the turf without data, because our data, which is what we're already aggregating from or storing from day zero, provides you the defense against anybody, because essentially client comes to me not because I can send emails or better emails. No, because I have the backbone data. You can latch on my cluster data and unlock efficiency levels that are significantly higher than you doing, essentially you running campaigns for somebody else. Because you just plug it in. I have the intel or intelligence layer essentially that you can leverage then to craft the best emails possible based off your industry, based on the ICP that you're targeting. And that's the future, So it's a huge kind of network effect. So it pulls in businesses, and B, actually the value increases for the existing businesses the more emails they send. So there's a learning mechanism.
Yeah.
And that's the network effect that we're building. So the defense of what we're building, A, lies in data. B, actually the other products. So currently we only have 2, but there'll be more. There'll be other forges, essentially. That's stickiness, where systems talk to each other. It will make the whole product significantly more stickier. And essentially we're mimicking what we call the snowflake effect. If you look at the NRR numbers, that's what we're doing.
Right.
We're looking to generate, a huge chunk of our revenue through expansion revenue. Majority, actually, of our revenue. We have what we call land and expand strategy, which is the reason you go on our website, it just says $96, but our highest paying client is paying us for now already $2.2K.
So
This is how the future will look like.
Yeah, at some point, as you gain more and more data, you'll basically be you'll dominate the whole industry. And
We're essentially mimicking what Google does. Google has a ton of data. We're gonna have a ton of data in sales, and that's our what we call domination play. Yes.
Do you think that the sales landscape? I mean, let's say we have many tools that are allowing and enabling sales representatives to write emails at scale with AI. Do you think at some point somebody will develop, or there will be demand for a tool that blocks emails?
We're looking to build that tool, actually.
So
and the reason why we're going to build that tool is so we own 2 sides of the coin.
Yeah.
That's why.
So you're trying to own both the disease and the cure, right?
It's the 2 sides of the market essentially that you own. So once you start owning 2 sides, you control data. Yeah. And once you start controlling data, you can do some interesting stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's our play. So it's not just about us sending emails and landing them into the buyer inboxes with great emails, improving efficiencies through data, whatever. But it's also helping the buyers then to tackle that. And as I said, once you own 2 sides of the coin, there's a quite interesting stuff you can do with that. And because you essentially have data across two businesses, and then you can understand on how to sort of pull the levers in different directions to generate more revenue across both segments of the clients, even though these 2 products compete against each other. Sorry, not compete. They serve different purposes. As in one, you would argue fight spam. The second one increases the durability rate. So, yeah.
How far away are you from launching this?
The second product?
Yeah.
3 years that would be. So it's not anytime soon.
And by the way, to ask you, why did you decide to move to the Baltic countries?
I'm from Latvia myself originally, and then I lived in UK for over a decade, and then and a few other countries, but then I moved to Vilnius because my wife is Lithuanian. So we have 2 kids, and we used to live in London. And she hated the idea of raising kids in London, so she kind of nagged me into going back to Vilnius, and there I am. And then my co-founders, they're Lithuanians, so we met on Y Combinator, it's a matchmaking platform. In January last year, one of them pinged me and said, "Hey, I'm looking to start a company." And there's 2 of them, so they know each other from the first grade. They went to the same school, then the same university in Denmark. Then they came back to Vilnius, launched a few successful projects. However, none of them financially took off, and they understood that nothing will financially take off unless they have a sales guy in the team, essentially. And that's where I came with my idea, Salesforge, and we have never pivoted from the idea. And we're just plowing forward. So yeah.
There's these problems with startups in Europe in general. At
Which
least
ones?
that's what we hear from our founders. At some point, as you're past Series A and you want to scale more and more, you'll eventually have to raise money in the US.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Not many funds have the
Yeah.
resources. Yeah.
Especially for our idea, they don't have the resources. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Correct. So that is correct because our business is very US centric business.
Yeah. So you're starting in the
Over 60% of our clients are US clients.
yeah. So you're starting in the Baltic countries, then they're going to. I assume you're going to move to the US.
Yes, similar to
Some point.
Pipedrive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we say we're like the next Pipedrive. Yeah, Pipedrive is also Estonian. We're also an Estonian company. They're in the CRM space. We're gonna be in the sales execution space. We're gonna be a top 3 category player in 5 to 8 years time. And we're gonna raise most of our money in the US, correct? Because this is a US business and the US investors love what we're doing. It's just the reason that they don't invest right now into us is because we're incorporated in Estonia. So that's why they don't invest. And we wanted to make this a sort of what we call a regional success story.
Yeah.
So because our roots are, in Europe, and yes, we'll move to the US because Europeans cannot support our growth, unfortunately. It is what it is. And so we'll raise later in the US.
Yeah. So you found your co-founders on the YC matchmaking platform. Are you planning to apply to YC at some point in the future?
We already applied. This is the third attempt. And in the
Wow.
third attempt, we have not pushed it before as the kind of value, but right now we're pushing AI agents as our core
Okay.
proposition. So we're waiting for YC to reply, and we already have few referrals by current YC founders actually that are in a current batch that are our customers.
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
power a lot of what we call accelerator founders. Another accelerator reached out to me today. Said, Frank, one of our accelerator company wants to talk to you because they need to scale.
So good luck for the next batch.
Thanks. Let's see what will happen. We got rejected already twice, but you have to typically apply. I've been told like on average 5 times before you get in. It's like, okay, sure, we'll keep applying.
Yeah, that's our experience as well with our founders we talk to. Some of them they get in the first round, but that's very rare. And usually,
I've been told without referrals you can't get in, and I've been told that if you're outside of the US, it's very highly likely you get in as well. So if I would be based in Bay Area, I've been told I would get in easily.
yeah,
Just the location is a major difference. I've been told they're very biased towards US founders because they don't believe that non-US founders can pull off anything. Actually, I can understand where it's coming from because there's a network in the US. There's quite a few differences. What will make you you won't have what we call the luck factor
yeah,
that you have in the US. You have the network effect, and people don't network here. They don't network globally in Europe, and that's the downside of a lot of European founders. They're just not connected, and because they're not connected, they're least likely to succeed.
yeah.
So I
That's
totally understand the YC take on and why they do what they do and the way they do it. So that bias, I would probably do the same if I would be in their shoes. I would actually predominantly just fund US-based founders.
Oh yeah, they're not saying this explicitly, but the data shows it, and also that's their own version of de-risking. But
Exactly, yeah, sure. Because their job is to ensure that they're increasing the likelihood. And yes, maybe the Europeans going to work harder than the Americans, but still, at the end of the day, all the cash is in the US, and the more cash there's in the system, and the more connected you are, also the higher likely you're higher, more likely to succeed. Naturally, so yes.
no,
And
it's
they just put that into the model, and the model says US founders. So then they invest in US model because the model says so,
it's quite rare that we get founders. I'm sure that are so sober about the whole situation. And
I mean, it is what it is. I used to be in sales for over a decade, so I got to get them.
if you're let's say if you're a young founder residing in Europe, what's your best bet in the long run? Would you say that let's say you're 20 years old, you just finished your high school, and you're a founder of some startup and making some revenue? Would you say that moving to the US or finding a way to move to the US would be
Your best bet.
your best bet in the long run?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people do. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you were to go back in time, you would move to the US.
Yeah, I mean, I moved to UK. It's kind of similar in a way. You can raise money in the UK very easily.
Anglo-Saxon countries mostly, yeah.
Yes, so it's the same, pretty much, more or less. UK, US. It's similar. Yes, you have more chance in the US, but you also have more competition in the US. but it's actually much easier to raise funds, at least the initial funds in the UK.
I've had an interview with a guy yesterday. He's a founder of he's also based in Tallinn. He
Mhm.
told me he knows a lot of founders that have excellent businesses, excellent startups, and they struggle a lot to raise even small checks at this point.
Yeah, of course. I spoke to over 100 VCs last year, and I got 99% rejection. Was Frank, you have too many competitors, and I said, watch me. Competitors is not a problem. I'm a guy that loves competition. So, but of course, models typically say if you are like in a very red ocean, we're like one of the what we call reddest oceans, where you have way too many competitors, then the likelihood of 100x return is just very unlikely. And I'm saying I'm the outlier, but they don't believe naturally. So they said, well, let's talk later. The seed round of Series A is like, sure. Yeah. So then the notion of believing in founders, I think most VCs don't actually do what they say, as in they believe in founders, even though the founders are great. They look at other metrics, and then those trump the founders or the perception of the founders that you have. We're first-time founders, so that's why they don't have this check mark that's okay. They've done this in the past, so it's also highly unlikely they will succeed. However, based on data,
anyway,
I think
so
50% of very successful companies are first-time founders.
yes.
So the data actually says something totally different. That there's no difference in second-time versus first-time founders if you just look at aggregate data of what the people have done before, what they've done.
Yeah. It's interesting to see this comparison that it's difficult to raise funds with a functioning business model, and at the same time, there's some guy who just graduated at the Ivy League school, and he's easily getting a 100K check for his idea with no validation whatsoever.
Because he has the network.
Yes,
Right, so.
network. Yeah,
And the credentials.
some source.
Yeah, Ivy League. Yes, I mean, Ivy League, Harvard, yes, Stanford, Berkeley, on all those universities. Yes, of course, it's much easier to raise. Yeah, so credibility. It's all about credibility, PR, network, all those things matter overall. And that's why you have significantly higher chances of being based in the US if you definitely want to go into the world of startups than being based in Europe.
Yep. I think we've covered all the questions we had, and so thank you for your time.
No worries.
For perspective.
And we might be potential clients.
We're not really relying on cold emails at this point, but
when we'll grow big enough.
Yes.
Surely.
Yeah, don't worry. We all have to grow. So eventually. So
yeah.
Cool. Thanks for your time, and I'll be in touch, or you'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Thank you for your insights.
Prove those VCs wrong.